So if you'll allow me to use the term God, please don't attach to it too many concepts now. Let's start with looking at the universe and seeing what it tells us about the Creator. Because you can learn a lot. I'm not going to just quote scriptures and tell you that this is how God is because it says this in this book. Let's look at what the universe can tell us. You know, you can understand an artist by his paintings, can't you? This is a painting by Van Gogh. Van Gogh. Van Gogh to you Westerners. Okay. Van Gogh. Now, you could, if you saw 20 paintings, 10 of them by Van Gogh and 10 by other artists, could you pick out the Van Goghs? Yes. Easily, right? Easily, because the artist has a consistent style which is characteristic of the artist. His character is expressed in the style. For example, here's Van Gogh painting a calm evening. A beautiful, star-filled night sky. And what does he do with it? He goes... He painted everything like that. And he was a pretty intense guy, right? Cutting off his ear, going crazy. Pretty intense guy. So you can know the nature of an artist by looking at his works. You can know an author. You know, they've done centuries of study on the themes that come up in Shakespeare's plays and what they tell us about the author. You look at someone like Tupac Shakur or other young artists whose life experience on the streets, in their situation, growing up, facing difficulties and challenges, are expressed in their music and their artwork. Likewise, we can know the author of life by looking at his work. If we look for a certain characteristic style, if we look for themes that are consistent in every form of life, they can give us some insight into ultimate reality, the nature of being, and the nature of God. Can I use all three of those terms? Okay. So let's understand God by looking at the creation. Einstein said this: the deep emotional conviction of the presence of a superior reasoning power revealed in the incomprehensible universe forms my idea of God. And Einstein believed that science was a surer path to God than religion. He didn't like the God of the churches, who judged and who said only one religion is right and everybody else is wrong, who was capricious. But Einstein recognized divinity and wonder, and he was filled with wonder, amazement, humility, and faith. But a little different than traditional religion. So let me summarize. Is everyone still with me? Are we okay? Let me summarize what we can learn about the nature of the author of life, and then let's look at some specific characteristics, okay? First, the summary. So, if we conclude that the origin of the universe is not chance or accident, but purposeful, then what can we understand about the author of life from the universe? Well, for chaos to become cosmos, what's the first, most basic nature of the universe that allows it to exist instead of chaos? For chaos to become cosmos, what's the first fundamental characteristic that defines the universe? Cosmos rather than chaos. The fact is, it's orderly. The fact that there's order. That's the first characteristic. And Einstein said, I believe in God who reveals himself in the orderly harmony of the universe. Why is the universe orderly? What allows order to take place? What causes and creates and facilitates the order in the universe? It's the fact that everything operates according to law. Everything's lawful. It acts in a very particular way. Everything follows law. So the laws create the order, correct? But if you look at those laws, they're not just a bunch of rules. Okay, you have to fall down toward the earth. You have to go around the bigger planet. You have to do... It's not just a bunch of rules. But these laws produce good results. Harmony, purpose. Everything serves a greater good. Things are in balance. In other words, behind these laws are values or principles. So my first contention to you is that when we think about the origin of life, when we think about the first cause, we can be sure that God is a God of order, law, and principle. Not just the man upstairs who decides if he's going to make you happy or sad, if he's going to test you and try you and struggle. He doesn't just act according to whim. There's a clear, lawful, principled nature that's revealed in the universe. Okay, is that acceptable to everyone?
Yes.
Okay, we'll start there. Now, let's see how that order, law, and principle helps the universe develop. All of a sudden, when molecules come together, they bring about organic life, and then life develops with colors and sounds, and all of a sudden we see a natural world that arises from these organic, inorganic, and organic processes that reflects beauty and truth and goodness. We see a world that exhibits these values and virtues, which philosophers and idealists aspire to. And if someone says to me, well, what about all the bad things? Well, we're going to talk about that in our second presentation. But we see a harmonious universe that expresses tremendous beauty, profound, deep truth, and ultimately goodness, a good purpose. So I would next contend that the nature of the Creator is a nature of beauty, truth, and goodness, which human beings aspire to, right? We have emotion, which seeks beauty, beautiful music, beautiful art, beautiful nature, right? When you're ticked off with people, where do you go? To nature. How many people do that? I do. I need it daily. No, I'm just teasing. And our intellect seeks the truth. And human will and conscience and volition is always drawn toward goodness. And when we don't act good, we struggle within ourselves and we justify and we cover and we lie, etc. So these natures exist. Now we go to the next level of life's development and we see the animal world. And in the animal world, all of a sudden, emotional bonds start to develop. And you find parents sacrificing their life for their young, protecting them. How many saw The March of the Penguins, that film? That's one of many examples of tremendous parental love and sacrifice and beautiful emotional bonds. Reverend Moon said he learned about love from the cows on his parents' farm, from magpies nesting in the trees, and how parents protected their young and what he saw there. But to be honest, these emotional bonds are instinctual, right? Like programmed. Many animal parents, at a certain point, that instinct turns off. Once the bird's out of the nest, gone. Baby birds don't write home once a month. Right? Some animal parents eat their young, or destroy the weaker young, or things like that. Right? But when we come to human life, all of a sudden the human capacity of love is deeper and has a spiritual quality, which I would call heart. Human beings have the capacity of heart, and the bonds of love between human beings do go beyond time and beyond space. We not only are connected and aware of our parents throughout our life, and it shapes our emotional experience, whether good or bad, but also we love and care and connect to people after they're gone. We create funerals and memorials to be concerned about the state of their soul. We remember them. We feel responsible to live up to their values and ideals. These connections transcend time and space. They're deeper. Now, if you look at all these things, the laws of the universe aren't voted on every 4 years. They're eternal, right? They're consistent. Beauty, truth, and goodness are not the changing, hemlines and short hair, long hair, skinny, fat, all the things that we get into to be popular or loved. These are eternal qualities that we're looking for. Goodness is something that's universal and consistent in our understanding. And true love is love that lasts. All of these things have a lasting eternal quality because, again, the nature of God, the nature of order, law, and principle, beauty, truth, and goodness, love and heart, and eternal, unchanging, and absolute. That's my general introduction, an overview. Okay? Any questions or concerns at this point? Yes?
I'm not sure I understood maybe. Is there a particular relationship, you were explaining order, law, and principle, between those three, any kind of progression?
Yes, yes. Order, really the arrow should be the other way. Order exists only because the universe, everything operates according to law. There wouldn't be order without law. But then I made the point that laws are not just a bunch of rules. You can look inside the law, they have values in them. You can see, laws are more deeply principles. They're not just laws, like rules. You can't do this, you're supposed to do that. I'm saying that you can see in the principles of life something deeper. There's value connection. I'm simply defining law more deeply. And I'm saying that these lead to the order. The order only happens because of these. So obviously that's the nature of the universe. Obviously that's the nature of its cause. And then I'm simply following the development of life and looking at its fundamental attributes to give us an idea about God. But yes?
Did you say unity begins the love, the heart, and the love?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So Einstein said, I want to know all God's thoughts. The rest are just details. Let's go a little deeper. There's going to be 4 things I want to conclude with, okay, today. 4 points I want to make. The first is the specific characteristics that we find in every single form of life that tell us something about the cause. Dual characteristics. The second is the interdependency of all things, seen through the give and take action that allows everything to exist and develop and move. The third is how every single existence strives to realize a foundation of 4 different positions, which I'll explain to you. And then how that applies to human life and the value of family. Okay? And based on this, I'll then conclude with the purpose of life. Okay? That's where we're going. Let's look at dual characteristics. The first most obvious duality about human life is masculine and feminine, right? Human beings are male and female. There wouldn't be any reproduction, there wouldn't be any development without that give and take action, the opportunity to reproduce, etc. We exist, develop, and reproduce through the relationship between male and female. Is that unique to human beings? Of course not. The animal kingdom entirely. Many, many forms. The plant kingdom, stamen and pistil, sporophyte, gametophyte, one form or another of a harmonious pair that needs to become one and have relationship in order for life to develop. That's consistent. When you get down to the inorganic universe, the inorganic elements of life, it's the very same thing. There's always a cation and anion, a proton and an electron, a plus and a minus. In fact, even the fundamental forces that move the universe, electricity, magnetism, gravity, these are all about relationship between a subject and an object. Right? What is gravity? I'm sorry, what is magnetism? I'm not going to do all 3. Let me just do 2 of them. What is magnetism?
The force between negative and positive.
It's the law, it's the fact that when you have a negative and a positive pole, they will attract each other. Is that true in human life as well? Kind of yes, between men and women. Yes, absolutely. And it's consistent throughout the universe. What is electricity? Electricity is based on the fact that if you have a positive pole and a negative pole and a conducting solution like a battery that uses acid, then they're going to generate an energy that's beyond either one of them alone. Can men and women do the same thing? Yes, they can. Yes, they can. There's a consistency in the universe that everything exists through the reciprocal relationship between these 2 characteristics, these 2 poles. You can see it from in fact, energy itself. If all of matter, as science tells us, comes from energy, energy itself is polar, isn't it? Plus and minus. And everything in the universe is plus and minus. What does that tell us? It tells us something about the cause of life. Within that cause must be the essence of all the masculine aspects of the universe as well as the feminine aspects of the universe. If energy itself, which brought the material universe into being, is itself polar, and everything in the universe is polar, it tells us something about the origin. So it's no surprise that religions recognize this point. Christianity doesn't say that God is a big man with a white beard up in the sky. Here's the book of Genesis. God created man, meaning human beings, not males, in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female. So God's image is not just male. Thank God. Hey, any man with his head outside of his rear should be thanking God that God's image is female as well. Which one's more important, men or women? Male or female, which is more important? If you haven't figured out that it's the one that you're not is the most important. If you haven't figured that out, and making harmony with that other, if you haven't figured that out, then you better do some more studying here. They're equal in value, but different in function. The goal is not for men and women to do the same things, think the same way. We're designed extremely differently. It's the most frustrating and beautiful thing about life. I'll tell you, right? In Faith Fusion, our path of growth is marriage and family. Nothing will challenge you more. It's also no accident that all of Oriental philosophy is based on the harmony between yang and yin, or yang and And these are balanced, complementary opposites, and all life manifests these, and the most essential, fundamental one is male and female. And Confucius said, the moral law extends into the vast reaches of the universe, but has its roots in the relationship between man and woman. That's the root, that harmony. And here's from the Bhagavad Gita. I am father and mother of the world. And I could go on and on, religion after religion. But now, before you're a male or a female, you're a human being, right? That's our and what makes us human different than the rest of the world? It's another set of dual characteristics, another duality about us. And that's the inner and outer. Our inner self and our outer self. Our character and our form. Our nature, our essence, and our external visible body. These two things. Human beings are unique, right? And it is, you can say that it's our personality, the human personality. And that arises from the relationship between our inner self and how we express ourselves and what we say and do. You can't understand my personality unless you listen to me talk, see how I act and move, and relate with how I express myself. But human beings are different than animals. And animals also have a nature, don't they? They have a nature. And the essence of an animal's animality, you and I have personality, animals have dogality or catality. What determines the nature of our dogs or cats? It's their inner quality, which is primarily based on instinct, right? Primarily based on instinct. Do we have instincts within us? Sure, and we have something more. You can go back down the chain of life and see that each one is built on the other. Right? So, dogs act, move, and react according to their internal instinctual nature. What about plants? Plants are the same. They're governed by laws. The roots will grow toward the water, the leaves will follow the sun. Already within the seed, which you open it up, is a bunch of mush, but within the seed of a particular plant, it's going to come out with a certain kind of fruit, a certain kind of flower, it's going to smell a certain way. You know, you're never going to get an apple from an orange seed. It's very clear. But where's the law? Can you cut open a plant and pull out the law? No, it's an inherent internal aspect that's manifested in the visible form. You can't pull out the law of a plant, now it grows crazy. It just doesn't happen. It's the inner nature. The same is true when you get down to the inorganic life. How molecules and atoms and particles function. You look at the periodic table. Who's familiar with, the elements in the periodic table? What's number one? Hydrogen. You guys that are most recently out of school should be the first ones to answer. So hydrogen's the first one, and it goes up. How many are there now? They're always adding them. The human beings are discovering them. Some are not natural. Some seem to be, I think there's like 123, something like that. I'm not sure exactly. But you know, each one of those elements has its own unique nature, just like people, right? Some are completely unstable. Some are needy and connect and make bonds with anything that comes near them. Others are completely independent, isolated, and reactive if anything comes close to them. Right? And based on each one has its own nature, its own characteristic. Right? So when we look at the natural world, we can also see that all of matter acts according to a directive, lawful, internal, instinctive, or loving, or conscientious nature. And from simple to complex, it's consistent. And it tells us something about the nature of the cause. Now, the cause of all of the material universe, as far as we can understand by science, is some form of energy. Remember the theory of relativity, Einstein? Energy can never be created or destroyed, but it changes its form. And matter is made of energy. And boy, the quantum theory now will really change. You know, everything is particle and wave and. But even energy is directive, lawful, and as life develops, we see more complexity and sensitivity and greatness. Ultimately, the material universe reflects the external expression of the first cause, and within the nature of all living beings, we can learn something about the loving, purposeful, principled nature of the first cause. So every single existence, including human beings, expresses these same two characteristics, masculine and feminine, or plus any single, you talk about a caterpillar, you talk about a flower, you talk about anything. And human beings as well, masculine, feminine, character and form, mind and body. Every single thing, every single existence expresses the same characteristics. An individual body that reflects the truth, individual truth body.